And there's snacks here.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Food Access Working Group, July 2025 meeting. We like to go around the room in our, meeting and introduce ourselves. And I am one of the co-chairs. And then if you want to start off here.
Hi everyone, I'm Avery.
Hi Avery, I'm Georgia. I am the director at Sustainable Living Project. We're an urban farm and education center by the zoo, so we're pretty centrally located.
I'm Kenny Gill. I run Middleton High School's Agri-Science and FFA program. We have about a half an acre organic. We run a vegetable garden, poultry, and nursery. And yeah, that's what I do.
RJ with Feeding Tampa Bay. I help with our Healthy Pantry initiative and help programmatic support for the food bank in our pantries to provide more nutrient-dense food for our neighbors.
Hi, everybody. My name's Eileen. I'm a nurse practitioner, and I am here as an advocate for food access. Representing us.
And we have no one online right now. Okay. Well, next on the agenda, we have deliverables and old business. Let's start off with acreage training, ag cultural cluster resilience and expansion. Raise hands if you're interested so that we can get a final member count. Anyone interested in that?
This is the training that I talked about last time that is for, like Virginia just said, the agri-cluster. It was this like pre-birth training. There will be check-ins as a group. And it helps you like be a meeting facilitator pretty much for specifically for agriculture. Hey, last time we were kind of just like some like nods, but if you actually would like to do the training, we're probably going to start in September and it'll be about 2 months. So
and online?
Yeah.
Online?
No, it's virtual. Yeah.
No, I might enroll month.
Anyone else?
I think I raise my hand.
And you're not looking for, like, if we're in a different working group, you're not looking for our names, right? Okay.
It's okay, like we just want to know, we're trying to get like a cohort, which I think we've reached like their minimum 6 people.
Oh, I'm sure.
So just if you raise your hand, be on the lookout for an email for us starting that course in the next, I guess, 2 months. I guess I'll go ahead and say, where you want to lunch?
Well, you want to introduce yourself since you walked in? Sorry about that. Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Michelle Odenya. I'm a registered dietitian and I'm one of the co-chairs from the Food Access Work Group.
Okay. All right, and then
Next on the agenda, B, and that would be you, Savannah, Cross-Pollination Conference, report out.
So I went to the conference and I want to share my screen over here. Give me a second for online recording. I don't want to stop sharing this one. I'll just close it. Share it. Okay. So I hopefully you can see this all right. I went to a conference I don't know, 2 weeks ago at this point. And it was called Resilience and Resistance, Farming Movements Food Systems Conference. And it was huge. It was in Portland, Oregon. There was over 600 people registered. There were 3 days of like speakers, workshops, and they had a poster session, which I actually thought was like the most like valuable part, was to see other projects like around the country of what people are doing. And I made a lot of connections, and I kind of wanted to show you guys like the total cost of something like that. It was $1,232, which is within our, the $3,000 budget. It's comes out of my budget, though, not you guys' working budgets. Just so you know, but like give you an idea of like what type of things you can go to do. They had this huge like setup within like an arena to fit everyone at tables. This was an example of one of the projects. I did get to go do some fun stuff in Oregon while I was there. And the thing that like the quote that really like was like a moment for me was someone said, build an irresistible vision for the future. And I was like, I love that. That's how we can inspire people to be part of our work and like want to do something about, food systems and our local food system and supporting our local growers. And I have notes if anyone is interested in reviewing my notes from the sessions that I went to. A lot of them, none of them I would say were specifically food access, but there was a lot about kind of like funding and how some groups were able to get a lot of funding. I would say kind of like the biggest thing, like kind of the theme here, cross-pollination, like you're saying, was creating connections, like we're doing with our network, and working together and, using different groups. So like one of the sessions I went to talked about how like this one advocacy group worked with a network plus like one or two other organizations, and they were able to get $6.1 million for like their cause, for their farmers and stuff, because they were trying to do more like resilience changes for their farms versus recovery. So instead of when you lose stuff, you get, something needs more so to prepare them so they won't lose as much stuff, like changing up their grass so that their grass doesn't get fried because now it gets hotter in the summer. Things to just make their farms more resilient versus like paying them out for losses. So they were able to get a lot of money by joining together. And one of the groups was like an advocacy group. So they were able to like petition to the government and stuff, which Homegrown Hillsborough can't do, but outside groups who are part of our network could maybe do something like that. So yeah, I just wanted to give a little recap. And if you're interested in my notes, like maybe I'll just put them in the drive instead of making you email me to like share them or something. Actually, I think I'm gonna post on the platform with this as well, and I'll include my notes there. That's what I'll do. Okay, so that was my little thing.
So Hannah, what were some of the posters that they had? Like, what were a couple of the projects?
There were so many. I took pictures of all the really important ones that I thought were the best. They were all like USDA funded, so some of them were like food hubs, and then some of them were like teaching kitchens. One was specifically for like incarcerated people to have like a transition to the workforce once they were released. One of them was about like seed saving. I have a lot of pictures with the intent that I'm gonna, put links to all of their projects. So maybe I'll add that to my notes. It's like, here's the pictures of the poster boards.
When you upload your notes, just
Yeah,
put some of those pictures on there.
Yeah, I'll put the pictures in there too. There were a lot.
Sounds good. I'm just curious to see what some of them were.
They were very like kind of all over, but not like, obviously all food system related, but it was a lot of like food hub or food hub style stuff, where there's multiple different like food related things happening out of one, either organization or one building. So there's some that was like education, or like it's usually like education mixed with something else. So a lot of like smaller farms kind of expanding and working on their sustainability while also doing education and like diversifying their programs. I was happy to share more of those. All right. Okay, thanks.
So the new business, A would be the office hours for those interested in applying for the mini grant. Start with 10 minutes each of walking through ideas or application. And so I had invited originally Kenny and Georgia to join us because I thought that they would be a good fit for our goals for this year, focusing on getting Healthy Corner Store in Sulphur Springs. I believe it's called Buddy, and to connect local farmers or gardeners to assist in providing produce. So Regina, did you want to share a little bit about? Not right now. Okay. I'm trying to see what we do. No problem. Okay, yeah, zoom in for me. So I'll go over the goals a little bit, yeah. So identifying a neighborhood store that is within a low income, low access area within the city of Tampa, which we originally had a pilot with at Buddy's, that Avery had assisted in the pilot, providing surveys and collecting data about what the community feels would be a good fit at that corner store. And so then we came up with the second goal, which is identifying 4 produce partners to supply local produce. And that's where I thought that Georgia and Kenny would be a good fit. And then the last step would be hosting 4 cooking classes within the
0.5 miles of the identified neighborhood store. I'm sorry, I don't remember the cross streets. What does anyone know where the cross streets are for Buddies?
You know, Avery, the streets, the roads.
It's on water, yeah, I know it's on Waters. And it's Buddy and Danny's grocery,
Oh,
so
Buddy
I
and
could
Danny.
get the exact.
Okay.
Waters and North 18.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Right by Rella. That. You can see.
Yeah, there was, a grassy area to the left of the store, to the right of, on the screen. And that was where we had the table set up and we were distributing surveys.
Right over.
Yeah. And then, Serena, was on that team and she had brought star fruit from her garden. So we were also serving that to those that stopped by that were interested. So that was definitely a hit for sure. Like the kids coming back and so, yeah.
One thing I wasn't sure about the data that was collected, where does that live right now?
It is in a folder on the Google Drive. And
Oh, we have access.
yes, it's
Oh,
actually linked on your agenda for today.
We could probably add you to that group.
Stories. She's in
Oh,
it.
sorry. She is, okay.
Oh.
I was gonna ask you if we could add her to that group.
okay.
Okay.
I didn't get that far, I'm sorry.
You're good. Because it's in, yeah, it's in your folder, so.
Okay, so
With access of these, maybe I should give anyone. Okay, yeah, so it's in the food access folder under Healthy Neighborhood Store.
Oh.
So we've moved it here so that you guys can all see it. So that's where it is. So it's linked on the agenda down here. And if we have time, which we might, because not many people here, we can go over it kind of together. I guess the question is, do either you, Kenny or Georgia, have interest in applying for a mini grant to help us as either supplying local produce, or if you have any programs that would apply to the priority areas that you want funding for? If that's anything you're.
I'm curious, what is the vision for how that interchange happens? Has thought been given to that process, or is that still something that like?
working through the
Okay.
gates, yeah. That's why I had thought of, I know Regina had more of a vision of what it would look like. Did you think a little bit about the details of that?
Not to write anything, but just, yeah, to articulate it. But, the logistics of it, no, I have not. Maybe next week,
So,
I'll have that ready.
so then I guess another question is, currently our model is selling direct on campus to teachers and parents of students. And at certain times of the year, we are overproducing. And at other times, there's not a whole lot to be harvested. And the relationship has to be built on that understanding that like it's not a contract to provide produce. It's like when we have it available in excess, we could do that. So what would the grant that we're applying for, what type of things can that be utilized for? Just production cost of the produce itself, or how are you wanting that money to be spent?
Well, I know that it's food system related, so anything that has to do with, from what I can think of, correct me if I'm wrong, Savannah, that would be related to the distribution, so getting it from your location to Buddy's. I can't think of like upfront what other costs would be related to that.
I think anything related to the food production, if you need to like expand your like thing, or maybe you want to buy specific seeds that are gonna be like more productive year round, or like if you want to buy a small cooler that'll be able to help keep things cool with transport, or like even a small refrigerator to keep it at the school to wait for pickup. Really anything that would help you with this. The only things you can't really do, or like, I don't think there's really anything that you specifically couldn't do. So yeah, it's like, unless you're just paying yourself, $1,000,
Right.
like there's a 25% personnel like limit.
Okay, so I was talking with somebody at our FFA conference that we have every summer in Orlando that brings together youth from across the state and agriculture instructors. And there's a guy named Ray Cruz who runs a really amazing program. I forget where in Florida he's located, but in any case, he was telling me about how they're able to provide produce. They're in a rural area, but very low socioeconomic background in that area. And so through grant funding, they're able to defer the cost of production. Cause like in our case, we're raising what I would say is a very desirable product. It's all organically raised, and that comes with a premium in pricing. So trying to make that product available to people with a low income background, if that is, I guess, where we're trying to go. So like matching some of the costs so that we can sell a prime product at a discount price. I guess is what I'm.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
I had some questions about the previous pilot program. What can you tell me more about it? What was the program?
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about it. So basically we're following a model that has already been developed. So there are corner stores like in other states. St. Pete actually has 6 corner stores downtown. So we kind of wanted to mimic what they're doing. So basically putting fresh fruits and vegetables sourced from farmers into local convenience stores that already exist.
Mm-hmm.
So not starting from scratch, but actually working with those convenience stores to put the fresh fruits and vegetables there, and then also have that educational piece with it as well. So recipe cards, raising awareness of food services that are in the county as well. That's the only event we've had. There's not currently a chair right for that anymore,
I
Savannah.
think that's what we're looking
What we're
for.
deciding.
Champion for the company.
Right.
Okay.
That's one of our goals.
I'm asking because I didn't know if Kitty Wallace still involved at all.
I don't think anything's been happening since our last event.
Okay.
So we're looking for someone to champion that initiative so that that's like the first thing is
Find the store.
We have the store,
Oh,
we have
then-
a store.
What do you mean by the champion?
So someone who's gonna lead the
Got you.
Probably sort
project.
plus or minus.
I don't know, I can show you the here.
Black Radish comes to mind as somebody get the temple.
I would agree, we already did like an event at the store.
They didn't have a ton of like space for fresh produce when I talked to them and brought them stuff before. Yeah, so that's yeah, because we talked to them. We talked to them before about putting produce in there and whatnot.
And that's like one of the goals, to make it valuable.
So how was
They have
the,
a lot.
how was
Go
it
to the school.
purchased?
Yes.
Or how did you get the produce into
Do
the
they-
store?
We're not there yet. That's just, we've just done the planning for it. We've not actually gone to replace it.
The pilot project, that's where it stopped, was at like this planning stage.
Yeah, and I
Okay.
wasn't the chair or anything, so I was just a member participating in it, so that's why I was defaulting to Savannah, because like as far as the data collection, all that, I wasn't responsible for, I was participating in. Like I work for the Department of Health, so I brought like the resources that we have, and like we offer free chronic disease prevention classes, so those that stop by, I got to talk to them about it, so my hand is in that project, but I'm not like the one taking the lead on it. Just
Yeah,
so that-
I think I misunderstood and I thought that it had developed a little bit further, so that's why I was like, I have questions like, how does this look, you
The
know?
corner stores that are like the one I toured one in St. Pete actually, over a year ago, and they have corner stores for local farmers that are sourced in their convenience stores.
And
recipe cards.
Okay, so we need to all have one conversation.
Okay, all right, yeah, we're having too many. We have Kitty Wallace online, so why don't we, speak with her about, how they went about with the corner store. Because she would have more insight as to
Any
you know,
further
any
questions?
further questions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right, Kitty, let's hear it.
Can she hear?
You're muted. Oh, there she is. Oh, there she is. All right, we can see you, but you still have to unmute. Kitty, can you hear us? Yeah, we can still. I love that. You song. Your mic is not working.
Oh,
Okay. Do you want to call on the phone? Hey, oh, baby, you're unmuted. You want to try to talk? You're unmuted, Kitty. No, we cannot hear you. Okay. We can call on the phone and do like speakerphone on the phone. Does that work? Wait, does anyone want to call?
Let's try.
I'm like, I can do.
Do you have her number?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you?
in this room.
That should work.
Hello, my dear. Can you hear me? You're on speakerphone.
I can hear you.
Okay, we want you to speak a little about the corner store, Buddy and what it is, Buddy and Danny, and some of the things that went into that project, that initiative.
Okay, if I talk, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You're speaker.
Okay. So, the organization known as, let's see, they were the organization that was working for years on food insecurity issues, and I'm blanking on their name right now, but I was a regular member of that organization, and they set up different work groups in order to address the issues of food insecurity. And the one group that they were active on before COVID was the neighborhood corner store work group. So that all ceased during COVID, and when things settled down in like 2023, they wanted to revive that and asked if I would chair that. So I got a few things started. I brought all the information I could off of the internet from the Department of Agriculture, USDA, had lots of information. They had been in the mid teens, 20 teens. They had several cities that had been pilot projects for the healthy corner store. And they had even written up reports and how to form a healthy corner store and so forth. So we got ourselves informed through all that information, and we started to use the research from this previous organization's work before COVID about the neighborhood corner store possibilities in East Tampa. And so several of the members of our work group did go to corner stores and talk to owners or managers about their interest in adding accessibility to fresh produce in their store. And there was limited interest, but maybe just a little bit of interest, a couple of places. So at that point, I got in touch with a digital marketing gal that I had worked with in another project, and she did a logo for us, and we developed a couple of surveys and handouts that we were anticipating starting a sort of a Saturday morning interaction with the customers at the one store in East Tampa, the fish market on Lake at 15th. and gathering information directly from those customers about their interest in having fresh produce at the store and what produce was most popular for that option. And so we had got that far, and then we expanded the group, and we had Monica and Dahlia on the group, and they knew all about the Healthy Corner Store projects in St. Pete. So that really informed our group a great deal about what already was happening in St. Pete. So a couple of folks went over to see the project there, and it was very heavily funded and supported through the Pinellas County Health Initiative. And there was a lot of funding in place to address the store owners' usual concerns, which was what we found in Hillsborough, that they didn't want to, lose money trying to do this. They wanted it all to be on somebody else's dime, but they might be willing to, participate as long as they were going to be on the hook for any financial responsibility. So that's where we went to. At that point, with that information from St. Pete, we got the whole project. We asked for it. We said, "Hey, how did you write this up? You've done this successfully for over a year, and you wrote it up and everything." So we have that paper somewhere in the files, and Monica and Dahlia met with the City of Tampa Economic Development folks about the possibility of monies being available. So at that point, we just kind of pended active work on this project so that we could see what was going to come down through the City of Tampa Economic Development Department. So that turned into the Sulphur Springs and East Tampa Fresh Food Initiative. And they did a request for information, and they had quite a few people respond with like pilot projects to increase fresh food in those two target areas in Sulphur Springs and East Tampa. And right now, the economic development folks have been reviewing those projects and will hopefully fund some of them. So we are waiting. Last time I talked with Amanda in that office, she said they were still reviewing and would, have information soon about the next steps. So that's kind of the information I have for you, but I'm open to questions. I'm sorry I'm late. I thought the meeting started at 12:30. I apologize.
Anyone have any questions for Ms. Gibbon?
Help us understand the neighborhood store initiative.
Do you know how the funding worked as far as getting the produce from local producers into the stores?
In Pinellas, they had like a budget of about $2,000 a week. I mean, it was a real, hefty amount. I'm not sure how many healthy corner stores or healthy neighborhood stores they were working with. I don't remember, but it was more than one, maybe two. And so exactly how they reached out to who, I don't know that, but I could find out.
I was wondering if it more like that they paid 100% of the wholesale price, or did they work with them to get the wholesale price lower for a premium product, or how, did that work in different ways?
It was my understanding that the procurement process paid full price for the produce,
Okay.
And then whatever the store sold it for, like these dozen oranges or whatever, were paid for by the funds in the project. And then Mrs. Brown came in and bought these dozen oranges. Those dollars went into the store's coffers. They didn't go back into the project. So the store was making money on the produce that they were selling, but they might have not sold every item of produce. And so, they weren't at risk at all because the funds from Pinellas County were paying for the produce.
And since they weren't at risk, were they able to provide it at like a better price, like a more?
I did not understand any kind of negotiations was happening, but I can go back and look at the notes. In my remembrance, they simply paid for through the outreach efforts that they created a distribution of produce, and they paid what was asked.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to see if it was like more affordable for the customer or so. Yeah, basically,
Well, see, from the point of view of the store owner, all he's doing is providing shelf space so that they could have priced it at anything,
right,
because it wasn't reimbursing the county's money. It was simply going to the store owner as a part of the project.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering more so about the point of view from the producer and the retail customer, how that looked for them if they were, yeah. I know you said you didn't have those answers, but that's what I was wondering about.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not going to be able to answer your question as well as you would like me to.
No problem.
Okay.
She's talking about St. Pete's pilot program. So.
Oh, composting?
Just in case they didn't sell for you.
Yeah, like years ago. Yeah. Yeah, or like if the farmers are
I feel
taking
like the
food
farmers
in.
themselves, when they
I think he's
deliver.
talking about St. Pete.
Oh,
Because my knee-jerk reaction too was like, no, St. Pete doesn't. Yeah. Yeah, so like when you drop off, you pick up whatever.
and you can leave them.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like that idea a lot. I would do that with fruits. I would pick up their compost.
Okay, do we have any more questions for Ms.?
I don't think that we have any more questions for Ms. Kitty necessarily. I think maybe just working through like this many grant questions, things like that. I think is actually one more question. Would the write-up that you said that you got from St. Pete, would that be available for us to look at as well?
And everything I to Regina, and
Awesome.
including the quite attractive logo for Healthy Neighborhood Store. And you can have it all, and I'll be glad to be any further assistance that I can be.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
We
you.
do have the files in the folder, I'm pretty sure, and we put it in the food access folder, so I don't think you need to send anything. I think we've got it.
Okay. So I'm clear. So
Well, thank you, Ms. Katie. Okay, we have any other questions afterwards? I'll get with
Yeah,
you.
I see a lot of.
Yeah.
Here's the fly.
Yeah.
Right, on the drive, okay.
and then transportation as well.
Well,
And then
I'm
you try to determine who will get
not
that.
able to hear you very well. I'm just gonna listen.
Okay, you want to
And
listen in?
put
Okay,
the phone down. If you need me to pick up the phone, I'll pick it up.
sure, just listen in.
She can hear on her computer. I think
Oh,
we
you can hear?
now.
Okay.
If you have a specific question, we can.
All right.
maybe answer it.
We'll
I
ask
think we're
her.
good. Thank you, Kitty.
And so what was your question? Go.
So, so my name is Charlie Adams. I'm actually the president of Sulphur Springs Neighborhood Association. And I'll also have 501c3 Sulphur Springs Farmers Market, official Sulphur Springs Farmers Market. And, inaugural event is on October 18th. So what I'm trying to, have understanding of, so the store we're just speaking on, that's obviously in the community. And I actually grew up going there, so one of the stores, Jessica's, we call it. So my understanding is that when you're looking to find shelf space so that we can have fresh produce in the store, we don't have it. I know that going on my back. And then finding a farm or producer that can provide that store with fresh produce, and then being able to transport that back and forth, and then trying to determine what organization will take on that role or assignment.
So who's gonna champion this project? So,
Why not me?
so, all right. We actually have two like local producers here as well. And so we're trying, so that is our first goal. But if you came with other ideas that you wanted to pitch, it for the mini grant, if it aligns with kind of the priority areas, it doesn't have to do just the goal, but you get more points on like the rubric. So if you want to pitch your thing, we'll do 10 minutes and then we'll let Nick have 10 minutes. And then we can come back if we need more time. We need to know when people are gonna show up. So like, if we need to come back, we just want to make sure everyone gets a chance, because we have about an hour and 20. So. Perfect. Yeah, introduce yourself.
Yeah.
and
Okay.
Give
Good
your.
work here. So grab my phone.
You need to point it up on the screen. I'm trying to do too fast.
I'm not. I must be there.
No problem. You don't have to.
And this is kind of like on the spot for me. So we're
There are no expectations. Here we go.
All right.
I'm so
Yeah.
Get some folks on the right. Like, you need to step there, so let's see. I can also.
There you go.
Remote.
So for the programs. So I had a few ideas in mind in regards to how to address the food disparity in the Sulphur Springs community. I think it's crucially important, and in regards to food literacy, I want to start the Springs Fresh Food Program, where we actually take kids from the Sulphur Springs community to actual farms to see exactly where it is your food is coming from, and kind of give them the pipeline of, from initial, from growing all the way to consumption, right? This is the whole pipeline, which is supply chain process. So I'm just kind of grabbing on. I have everything online, and in a part of that, having courses. So I've partnered with our local resource center, where they allow me to use the space, and I did just 3 weeks ago. I taught some special needs students in regards to how to become a vendor and at a farmer's market. So that'll be a part of it. So, and then for the Fresh Food Initiative, Fresh Farm program will be the first one. Then the food delivery, the Springs Market Food Delivery Program. So being at the Springs Market, kind of like the visual here, maybe like 2.5 acres of land at our Sulphur Springs pool, where the city has authorized me to use it for the purpose of the event. But I wanted to get golf carts, right? Just pick up truck golf cart, small, so have produce delivered to. Well, now that I found out that the city won't allow me to do a consecutive market every week, that will have to partner with. I was thinking San Juan, or find a local producer, or I see on Waters. Well, yes, on Waters, right next to Sulphur Springs Elementary. the gentleman there has they sell produce, but what I notice is that it's overpriced, right? And the quality is not there, so speaking with San Juan, which is the nearest store that can provide like bulk for us. So, but deliver it to the Sulphur Springs Farmers Market, and then having an app that allow residents to order their produce on a weekly basis, or I can't do a weekly, so bi-weekly basis, to order produce, and then have residents or kids that partner with us to be able to drive and deliver this produce to local residents within the Sulphur Springs community. So this is kind of like a visual of the pickup trucks. They're really small EVs. They run around roughly $15,000 to $20,000. I believe with 5 of them would be sufficient to cover the entire area. We're talking around 10,000 residents. So I think that would be suffice. And then I was looking into to do the Springs Entrepreneur and Employment Development Training Program, where a part of the program we will be teaching students in regards to business aspect of becoming a vendor, teach them how to become a vendor, 8-week course. And after they complete the course, we will give them a $1,500 voucher towards all startup costs, so they can be actual vendors at the market, and then allowing promote entrepreneurship, but also they will be able to hire from within the community to provide jobs. And then whether bird watching and keep Sulphur Springs beautiful, I don't have really much to do with it, but other 2 programs I'm working on. But I strongly believe that, and also we have our commissary kitchen, where I spoke with the city of Tampa, with Coach Harold at the rec center, where we will be able to do cooking demonstrations. So that's our rec center is maybe like 2,000 square feet with a full commissary kitchen that we have available. And then I was just told that just give them a plan, and we can green light that as well. So yes, just a few ideas. If you go on my website, thespringsmarket.org, you can really, it's better than me kind of trying to explain it here. I wasn't expecting to be discussing it right now, but I do believe that if we keep it in-house, so to speak, and we allow the residents, the people that will be that understand, to teach them exactly what it is that they're consuming, it could really impact us as individuals. And I say us, I was Sulphur Springs Elementary, so I understand what it's like to be hungry, and I understand what it's like not to have fresh fruits and vegetables. But I really never understood how important it really is until I became an adult and I started living off the ideal of the Maslow's hierarchy of need: food, water, shelter, transportation, and I throw in a job, to finance all of it. But just food, water, but food being the most important, because I don't know if I'm going off on a tandem now, but yes, I know what it's like to be hungry. I know what it's like for these guys to literally be out hustling for food, the basic necessities. You risking your life for a plate of food. So how about we create access to fresh food, and then also employ them, because we don't want it to come off as, you all have the jobs, you're giving us free food or discounted food. We need jobs to pay for this food, right? How are we going to pay for it? So we need to make sure, and we don't focus on typically what I see happen in the nonprofit space. And as we all know, that Sulphur Springs is a nonprofit heaven, right? You can get all type of grants in, and I'm just not waking up to it myself. It's like 2-3 years ago. But what typically happens is we have large organizations that provide funding. They give us the free stuff, which is the bare minimum. keep the big money, right? They get the grants where, their, marketing analyst or marketing manager getting paid, X amount of dollars per year. We need people in house to take those jobs, right? Or if it's a market manager, we need to teach them how to be a market manager. Take them take them under the wing and teach them how to be a market so they can do this within their own community rather than those jobs being outsourced and we get hot dogs and chips. That should be happening. So that's my main focus is finding ways on how we can keep all of the extensions of this program, so to speak, in-house. And if we don't know, don't blame us for not knowing teachers, right? We've been behind the ball for a long time. We're just getting caught up. So we need support from the experts that really know what's really going on. So basically, that's my idea. Right?
Yeah. Thank you. Good job.
Questions, or if you want to like maybe focus on which one of his projects that he listed was you think most relevant, or you think you should apply for the grant. So this one, is for $2,000. So like which project can you use $2,000 to get started, and which one is most related to our goals and priority areas here. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or if you have questions, I'll start like a 5-minute timer. Then we'll let Nick have a chance and then he can come back.
Well, I think the top three were if you go back to the other page, the top three look like they're the biggest priority. I don't know too much of the details, but it looks like it would be a good fit for our goals for this year.
Yeah, as you were talking, I was checking stuff off, like how does this align, and everything. I mean, from my perspective, there's other things like that you have that are awesome, like entrepreneurship, and that's great that you want to bring that back into the community. But as far as our priorities, I feel like everything you were saying was lining up. So that's awesome. And that's a great thing that you're doing. So
Food brings what I
brings people together.
And it's bring people together, right? And then I think how we have to create. We don't have culture in Sulphur Springs. We don't have culture. You can go downtown, go Amundsen Works, Summer Heights, other area. We don't have culture. We don't have any. We have maybe 2 festival events the whole year at the River Tower, large scale festival. We talk about 22 acres of land, green space. On the riverfront property. Why aren't we leveraging that to bring the community together? And I believe that would be the perfect area to food to be the driver. And we can't, don't make it as if it's like a charity. All right, just we're giving it away. No, let's create jobs so people can afford to buy this food while creating entrepreneurship, creating jobs, creating a sense of culture and identity. And so people don't feel bad standing in line. How you see on Nebraska, you have the food pantry, which is nothing wrong with. There's nothing wrong with the food pantry. But typically, people that go to the food pantry are homeless and are people that don't live in the community, right? And a part of that is the image. It's on Nebraska. Nobody want to be seen on Nebraska collecting free food. That's just the reality. Why? This is what it is, right? So, what can we do to leverage our green space to create that atmosphere where it's a healthy thing, or it's more just a more acceptance part. This is who we are. It's what we do on a regular weekly basis in the Sulphur Springs area. So,
Did you say the farmers market haven't started yet?
October 18th
Is the first one, and it's going to be every other week.
Yes, I'm looking. I try to talk to the city every week, but that's it. Sometimes they don't do it, so maybe going every other week would be the aim. But then that's still a gap we have because we have to. People don't eat every other week, eat every day. All right. So
has there been a farmers market there before?
Never.
Oh, cool.
Did they tell you why you couldn't do it? What? No, it's just paid every other week. No, just every week. I'm sorry.
We'd love to find out the answer why.
Sure, we'll see. I don't know, maybe because I just found, have someone that try to work, I wanted to work along with me. And then, once they figured out they couldn't take over, they put an inquiry to themselves, but they don't be met with the same, thing that I was met with. If I'm doing it already, you're not gonna be able to do it. So now that's at the end of that conversation. So, but
Do you have like a specific, like list of things that you, what would you use $2,000 for to work? Or what?
marketing,
Marketing.
be my biggest, marketing, getting the word out, and finalizing the insurance. So I've already, so I have Tico donated a grant, 5,000 already, and that covered some expenses. However, marketing is my biggest issue, and I would love to be able, like, I kind of like started this on my own. I kind of seen what the problem was. I just dove in without any help. So the last year and a half, I've been building this ground up. So having a team around me, so that's good at marketing, so that understand our farmers, so that can kind of give me insight on the do's and don'ts, the things I'm not aware of, and have an interest of the Salt Springs community first, and not outside organizations, but Salt Springs first, and how can you back the challenge.
What is the thing that Del Deshawn does, the Newport Richie Farm?
Farmnet?
But so it makes me think, when you're talking about culture and you're talking about these things, like historically, civilizations have harvest festivals and celebrate the products from the region. And so, like, they have the Loquat Festival during, I don't know, like December, January, when the loquat was blooming, fruiting, and producers bring loquat jams and anything loquat related. It just gives that like connection to the seasons and the connection to the community and connection to nature. So that might be a path to try to somehow weave in.
We have someone here that's good at baking. The hibiscus is the most common flower in Sulphur Springs. So if someone know how to make some type of, right. So making hibiscus treats, to make it native. And I love that point. Make it native.
Yeah, I think something Dale does is like, the Low Festival. I think he's also
There's like a collard green festival.
he's participated, okra, and so doing that maybe quarterly or something at the market.
Yes.
Also, I ran farmers markets in New York City for a while.
My friend.
That's why I would like to be your friend. I would really like to be your friend. Because it focused a lot on like what you're talking about right now, and so I would really love to talk to you because I'm also not far from you. Yeah, I'm over by like Bush and North Boulevard.
Yes, because I've been. Oh man.
I would love to talk to you and
That's-
find out more. I know it's a lot.
It's a lot.
I think we're all probably feeling like it's a lot. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But yeah, we have a commissary kitchen, and we can boost the size of industrial commissary kitchen, 22 to 40 acres of land.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And like Nick said, I'd also be really interested in that weekly thing.
We can bounce off each other. I'm willing to work with organizations. Maybe that if I'm not doing a farmer's market this week, is there something we doing, something, it may not be a farmer's market, but something similar, right?
Pop-up or
this
Mhm.
week, kind of like bounce off each other to, but then
Yeah.
also incorporate festivals and, to create that sense of culture to make people come out.
Yeah.
Come out and, be a
Really
part.
neat
But
to see.
That's what we need to, we really need to engage the community.
And there is like so Kitty mentioned that there's the YMCA is giving out food, and then the veggie van, and then yeah.
A lot of them, so YMCA, well, and what we can't miss is organizations, we come to a place where it's common ground amongst everyone. Because if we just come to the YMCA is at Sulphur Springs Elementary, and Sulphur Springs Elementary has a gator,
Right.
right? So the students and parents that go to Sulphur Springs Elementary has access to that.
Yeah.
Right?
But no, not if you don't have
But if you
kids.
don't have kids or,
Okay.
you
Which
have
there are a lot
access to
of
that,
Folks
you
that
know,
don't have kids.
right? So what
And have
benefit
needs.
is that? You're not really,
We're real.
you're looking at, you're taking care of the kids.
Right, but what about the adults that don't?
Adults that don't have kids.
Yeah. And
Right.
yeah, and sometimes that's because of there's not a financial viability for it or something like that,
Exactly.
yeah.
And then, and not making it, like, you have to sign up to this program in order to.
Hoops to jump through.
In order to have fresh food, you have to be on the email list in order to have fresh produce.
Yeah.
Right.
That's, to bring that up, I would say in our group, food production, we talk a lot about our barriers to producing more. And one of those big things is the cost of labor. So I know that like for all of the mini grants, there's a 25% cap. And that's one of the things, I guess, for me trying to wrap my head around is that's also our biggest need. So just like you're saying, like I get a lot of in-kind donations. I don't have any money. I don't have any money to pay myself, to pay help, to do any of those things. And so people are like, well, what do you need? I can get you more volunteers. I need a volunteer coordinator. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
All of those resources come with a need. And a lot of times it's a financial need. And just like you said, I get, we just had a huge project with over 100 people come in, and it was great the day of. They provided fans and Coca-Cola provided drinks and all these other things. But at the end of the day, I'm still as one person cleaning up after 100 people. So while they probably, like, I know they did their best, it's still a huge burden on small organizations. And especially like we're adjacent to this neighborhood. So I'm right by the zoo and I live at like North Boulevard and Bush. And so we have this same kind of issue of people want to give us stuff, but nobody wants to give us money and allow us to have that autonomy to be able to say, like, here is, I would like to pay interns, like we've talked about this too, or different things like that. And so that's what I've been trying to wrap my head around, I guess, with this mini grant is it's really cool. And I know it's meant to like get us started. So I guess something that I'm interested in kind of discussing today is like, what are we interested in seeing get done with about, what is it, $2,000? Or is it, yeah, with the $2,000 that we can, I guess if you can help us to see that further vision of what you're hoping to see that look like down the road, that helps me to say, okay, here's how I might be able to start that with 2,000. But right now it's kind of just this blank slate, and we produce food and we sell our food. And that's why I was asking, like, are the retail, so like it was great with the St. With the St. Pete model that the store owners are not taking on a risk. However, I think the two demographics that we're kind of missing that are a little bit more at risk would be our producers and our retail customers for the demographics, like for where we're talking about.
So piggy banking off of
We start 10 minutes on this conversation.
Okay.
Sorry.
back from what George was saying, I do think that access to fresh, healthy, organic food should be for all. And this model, I think, is going to be a huge success. I can envision it in my mind already how it's going to work with like Georgia's farm, my farm, if things, all align. But it still doesn't address the perception of value of produce. And when we're saying a government grant is going to fund the produce so that the price can be artificially low, the people consuming that product, I don't necessarily think make the connection to the value of the product.
Sometimes they do. Yeah, I have to agree. Like sometimes they do, but for years we gave away our produce and we weighed it and things like that.
And then it goes bad.
Well,
because people don't see the value.
No, I gave it directly to people and weighed what I gave away. But one of my top volunteers who'd been there for more than a year said, what if we gave something more to the volunteers? And I said, well, what do you mean? And she goes like, maybe fresh, local, organic produce. And she goes, yeah. And I was like, and we get the scale out every freaking week and we harvest things and we weigh it and then they take it home. That's what we're doing. So it was very clear to me that the perception of the value was not there because we were already doing what she was proposing and she'd been there for more than a year. she was not new. She came weekly. So I agree with you, like just giving it, and same thing, right? Just giving it away doesn't do much, but maybe if there's something,
Cooking demonstrations.
cooking demonstrations.
How can we turn this into something like love?
Or is there any way that we can start like an educational program? So like we're about to get our aquaponics back up and running. That can provide a lot of lettuce at a much lower price point. Organic lettuce at a lower price point for the community. So, but one of the things that I would need would be hands. And it's not a huge task. It's not complicated, but could we get some high school students in to and show them how to do it? You know, same thing, like, is there something like that? Or are you looking for us to say, yeah, well, with $2,000, I can get you produce once a week for this many weeks? I guess those are some of my questions. It's like, what are we trying to look at? And I know you may not have those answers.
From the perspective of the producers, that's, I think, where our.
But yeah, as people like looking at this mini grant, it's really cool. It's just, yeah, I think we're just looking for a little bit more guidance on like, what are you guys interested in doing with it? And then is there something within our organizations that can fill that need, or can we even partner together to fill that need? So like, could like each of us apply and then we partner together to make that one larger program or something like that? Or do we really just want to see it some kind of pilot initiative?
I think just having you guys here is such a great thing because you're posing all these different things that I honestly have never thought of. And then the fact that you guys are considering working together is a great thing. I don't really know too much about this stuff either, but it sounds like if we just collaborate a little bit more, we can see a lot of success in this. But there are questions that I personally haven't even considered, and that's why we're here, right?
Yeah.
That's what just trying to like, pick our brains. Do you guys have any answers for them that maybe?
Yeah, so 25% isn't a cap, it's just that if you want to use more of your money for personnel, you just have to justify it. So if you have everything ready for your aquaponics, that's gonna be like a robust education program or however, and all you need is to pay some people to set it up, I think that would be appropriate, and you just have to flush it out in your.
That's really good to, yeah, that's good to know. 'Cause sometimes since it's the first round, I think we're all just like not sure. We're like, here are the rules, like, yeah.
Next year, there's gonna be some more, like, it's not, we're still applying them all mini grants, but this is like the smallest one that we're giving out. And there's 2 pots, so that the whole working group has like a little less than $4,000. So 2 people can apply for $2,000 and maybe get it, or maybe you only need 1,500 and then you need, 500 and then Kenny needs 2,000. Like it can be split that way. It just kind of depends on how it shakes out based off of like your scoring on the rubric. So if that helps, like, it's pretty open, and I know it seems like the problem is that it's too open.
It is, but also,
Yeah.
like, I get it because you also are coming at it from a perspective of like, we don't know, and we see this a lot in like grants and nonprofits, right? Or I'm sure in schools where people who don't know are making rules for people who do know, and then there's this disconnect where we're like, that's cool, except for it's not useful at all, or like, so I mean, I think these meetings are important. Having the office hours are super cool and helpful. So, yeah, I don't know.
Anyone else have ideas about what you want to see money go towards versus like for programs or what programs will have whatever like open?
I just want to also put on one thing in regards to making it fashionable, making it marketable, making it cool to eat fresh. Right. And I think that we oftentimes we focus on the younger generation before they get out of high school. They just after high school, we really can't do nothing for you.
Yeah.
But guess what? Those are the kids that's influencing high schoolers.
Yeah.
So you can teach them all, and at least from my experience growing up in Sulphur Springs, we learn a lot in school, but when the bell rang at 3:30 and on weekends, that's when class starts, right? So we have to grab those kids that's 18 to 30. How can we engage you all to make this more fashion, make this more cool? And it's hard to say, come volunteer when I'm hungry.
Or I work three
Right.
jobs,
And I-
or
you know, make
I
it
don't
make
have a
sense.
car, or.
Right, make it make sense. Right.
Make it make sense.
How can we bring?
I do really love this idea
Pay
of like,
them, no, it's not volunteer. No,
I don't know if you
it's
can
a
add
job.
this into your goals or want to or whatever, but I do love this idea of putting that job aspect, and maybe this is more economic development, but
Mhm.
I do think there is something there in completing that food access point as somebody who like, I used to take our produce to food banks and things like that all the time. And sometimes we wouldn't see it get used because people didn't know how to use it. They didn't know what it was. Anyways, I think also not just getting the money back into the community, but like you said, those are the influencers in that community. So yeah, so I'm sure you guys know, yeah, but I just feel like there's something big there. And
And your influence give you amazed. I've seen kids, 23 years old have an influence of 200 kids in Silver Spring. They follow him just off a word. But the way he dress, whether the way he his style, he a rapper. We're gonna bring you in. Let's rap about Freddie Let's make it cool.
Or even just working out or
Yeah, work
whatever
out,
it is,
yeah.
right? Like whatever you see them doing.
Work out. Hey, let's do a collaboration and you promote, have people come out, eat fresh, and you make a smoothie, or you name it, make it. We need things that's synonymous to us, to our identity. We don't have any foods that can be staple. That's a Sulphur Springs meal. You can go to East Tampa, West Tampa, Jackson Heights, wherever you go, downtown, Ybor City, Cuban sandwiches. We don't have anything that say Sulphur Springs. We need to create that.
Yeah.
And that's a huge opportunity.
That's what I was gonna ask. Sorry, this is my last question. I know you had mentioned about culture and atmosphere. What does that necessarily look like for you, as far as food access and sustainability goes?
Well, Sulphur Springs was once the jazz capital of Tampa.
Really?
All right, look through the history. Jazz capital, we were known for a robust community as entertainment. Right now, the land I'm speaking about, where the tower is and where our natural spring is, you can't build on it because it's coated to where it's only makeshift, right? So it was filled with entertainment. So how can we infuse entertainment and use food a part of that, right? Maybe backed by food, fresh initiatives, right? And that's kind of like my way. But we can bring entertainment, something they never seen before in the area. Bring it, but hey, look, it's promote healthy living. The basis of the Springs Market is nature, nourishment, nutrition. Right, that's our founding principle: nature, nourishment, nutrition. Right, and we have to really make it about living right, creating culture, creating where it's positive. It's a positive perspective. It's a positive energy in the middle of chaos.
I have some ideas. Are we ready to talk about ideas? No.
We gotta shoot the timer.
Okay, sorry. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
No, that's fine.
I don't know if we wanted to give this challenge.
Yeah, that's what
Flying back there, chilling.
I was like, we're gonna put that time here. I don't wanna give Nick, his 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Or we wanna give it,
Hi, everybody. For those of you that don't know, I'm Mr. Ewing. I'm a producer of arts and organics through sustainability here in Tampa. I help curate different arts and organics programming throughout Tampa through different initiatives, some of which I like to call gardeners, which are gardens, which are dinners made by gardeners promoting gardens. I work with folks like Niche Urban Farms, opposite the Coalition, folks within the Well, Hillsborough. And I've been working on creating not only a calendar for 365 days of the year to create said event programming without these things to happen, but I'm also within a team developing a curriculum that showcases a 365-day seasonal schedule that all of the people who want to get involved, want to partner through, come together to see that happen, and hopefully follow and look ahead with this calendar curriculum that we're building. Trying to build a 3-week wiggle room for climate change, but starting to change that into 3 months now. But in general, I build and I design, maintain, construct gardens across Tampa. I just came back from one of my gardens that I manage every Tuesday and Friday mornings for folks within the Patel family. I help curate a garden for them and on the property here, actually, right down the street. And I help, I have another, my main project is called Artistry Gardens. It's a sustainability production company working to help curate different events and more programs and events around all of these things. I brought a little goodie box of some Cuban oregano, some fresh Indian mint, some citrus mint, lemongrass, different variety of marigolds. So please take them, pollinate the rest of the world, and bring as much as you can to it. And yeah, so recently I've been working on developing what we like to call farm to table, PHARM, working with one of my doctor clients named Dr. Shaw. She used to work with the World Health Organization on nutrition all across the globe, specifically in the Middle East for a period of time. She now runs a health and wellness practice out of South Tampa. And I've been working with her to curate this farm to table series, which showcases to different doctors and specialists and healthcare professionals how they can cook with local seasonal organics provided by myself and other farms and folks around town, and also a beekeeper. So I like to put my honey into these elements as much as possible. And yeah, so we've been working on the initiative to help sponsor more programs for this farm to table series. And we're hoping to do another round of executed events over at Armature Works, as well as some of these other commissary kitchens and spaces that have the sort of, you know, presentation space for being able to showcase how folks can work with seasonal local nutrition. And one of the other things I'm really excited about is about to turn on, so to speak. I was recently in talks with Keel Farms to talk about creating a sustainability program for them at their location over in Venona-Sassa, and they also have a wedding venue called Osprey View, Venona-Sassa as well. And they have a huge 10-acre vineyard. They don't have a garden, they don't have any bees. I need to figure that out. And yeah, so we're talking about creating a calendar that's specific to them that allows all of their brides and grooms and use the event space to buy more local seasonal organics from everybody. And at the end of the day, to try to keep it short and sweet, I have to run my next engagement. Trying to showcase sustainability by the square foot has been my primary goal, and to be able to make Tampa cool, pun intended, not just from the legitimacy of making it a cooler place to live and make it people want to come here and spend their time, money, and life, but literally make it cooler, because I'm very sick and tired of how much we are heating this planet up. And this is my world/life's purpose to figure out how to do so. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to work with folks within Homegrown and well-fed. It makes it very possible. I've learned so much on what it takes from the community to be able to do this. And at the end of the day, it just takes exactly what we're doing here and working with other folks and champions who are actually interested in it. And what I'm working on later this afternoon is meeting with people who know who those champions are in the community that are willing to say, I don't know how to do this, but I have X amount of support, or I have X amount of value to bring in for production support. And I'm hoping to have a conversation where I can invite folks like Jane Castor, folks who visit Tampa Bay, and a myriad of other different partners that are interested in getting down on things within downtown Tampa, Ybor. I was with GMF yesterday talking about a sustainability program with them for the upcoming festival this year. And other than that, I make music and I produce different artists and clients around town for 20 years. And I love arts and organics. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, any questions?
How can we work together?
I think it takes what we've all been talking about. Yeah, I would love
Wrote
to.
down.
I'd love to. I'd be glad to come out and provide music and open. I'll play for an hour. I'd love to make it part of my dedicated time for this. But yeah, I know a myriad of different genres: hip hop, pop, or metal, grunge, country, folk, Americana, whatever. I'd be happy to bring my colleagues and folks. Trying to get those folks has been one of my main drivers. I recently had an event called 12 Hours for Earth, which was a kind of lead up to Earth Day over at Crowbar. Tom George donated the venue for us. I hosted folks like Young Family Pharmacy, City of Tampa Green Team, SUAC was there, Hillsborough was represented. And we had 12 hours of programming at Crowbar for kind of a hype up for Earth Day. And I played, I had friends come through, we had 6 bands, we sold produce, honey, and more, and figured out how to make it more reoccurring as part of the goal. And again, I'm realizing that if people don't have it on their Google Calendar or their calendar or on the refrigerator or have access to get there, I'm showing cars, if they don't have it and it's not there, it's never gonna go. And I've been realizing that I'm guilty of that too, because if it's not on my calendar, I'm not gonna show up at 12 o'clock, 12:15 being late, to be here. So coming up with an event program calendar has been my biggest priority, and what I'm devoting a lot of my time recently with developing parts of how I can, obviously, I've already applied for the mini grant to be able to try to figure out how to do something within East Tampa, which is where Artistry Gardens has its base. I have a 2.5 acre site over there right across from Union High School, where I have my apiary and my garden, and I have a team there right now. We're building a production for an event called Secret Spaces, which is going to be hosted at, I'm blanking on the church name, but Daryl Shaw donated part of this piece of property for us to host this event. And it's an immersive theater experience where we're having all sorts of music and arts. And the whole theme is 100 years ago Tampa. So we're trying to tell the story of Tampa through arts and organics and sustainability. And yeah, just trying to get those people to find more champions to support the program, because as you guys may mention, getting people to be there is very difficult when there's no payment or there's no, again, logistics to get out there. So trying to develop a fund is one of my big focuses recently, is trying to showcase to the folks who have the monetary means to do so, hey, there is an ROI when you do sustainability, there is an ROI on local organics. If you're going to go to Publix or any of these number of different institutions that have, if you're going to buy rosemary, well, grow it. You're going to buy lemongrass, you might as well grow it. There's so many things that can be propagated and turned into more, and that's part of my goal every day. Trying to make it as seasonal as possible.
So when you apply for specifically for the food access, which priority areas or goals would you be working towards, and what would you use $2,000?
Yeah, so within my grant template that I wrote out for this when I did it, food literacy was a big point of it for my farm to table initiative with Dr. Shaw. So as a whole, I'm hoping to use the funds to kind of go towards what I've already done in the form of the labor and the time and consulting hours, all of the time it takes to get that coordinated. My doctor is running into a situation where she's funding it all on her own. And so we're trying to find who are those large medical clients, who are the large doctors and health organizations and insurance companies, pay something to get their name out there, to be sponsored, to market this concept. So that's one of the big things. Again, trying to keep it as seasonally cultural as possible. And then advocacy at the end of the day, this education thing that I'm working on is really exciting. We call it the seasonal foundational curriculum. And it's something that one of my colleagues, who was a graduate from the University of South Florida Patel Global Sustainability College, her name's Sarah Long, and her and I have been working on quite literally this whole calendar curriculum that anybody K through 12, one leg, one arm, no arms, no legs, could be a part of. And there's room for everyone in the garden. I've learned that through my whole life. There's something for everyone to do. If I had someone who didn't have, I use the no arms reference, because if I had somebody who I could call out to and say, hey, can you voice to text this data point that I'm taking on? While I'm managing, for example, I'll give you a great example. My client that I do this garden for has so many plants that I don't have the time underneath of what I'm obligated to do the per hour work for to have them take on that data. So I had someone that was sitting with me who could annotate that. Am I saying that correctly? Annotate, connotate. Yeah, annotate. Thank you. That information, that'd be really powerful for me. So yeah, just trying to coordinate those kinds of concepts together for people to get involved and coordinate.
So if you guys have more questions, like we did about 10 minutes talking and 5 minutes questions. I think we're in the questions portion of Senate, but if you have anything else for any of your questions about programs, or you have anything tonight, etc. Let me know if you want me to put the goals back up.
Yes. Yeah, there we go.
In East Tampa, there's a gas station right next door to my property that I'm working to closely coordinate with soon future to be able to provide them X amount of different recipes. Big favorite things to do is cook. And so I've built 3 seasons worth of recipes that are based on monthly seasonal nutrition that's coming out of my gardens and other sister farms that I work with. And I'm also working with the nonprofit called Instruments for Life to develop a nutrition program for the kids because they're feeding the kids Takis and Starbursts, and I think it's deplorable. And I want to provide them with brain food because we're not going to have the leaders we want in the future if we can't feed them correctly now. So I'm making a vegetable crisp chip for them, and I'm making fruit leather and fruit gummy snacks for them. That way they can hopefully switch out what they're doing. The goal is to be able to develop a couple of different recipes that would work within some of the folks in different grocery stores and gas stations in East Tampa on 56th Street outside of Public Terrace where I'm at. So trying to get as close to them as possible. I hate to do this, but I have to balance because I got to get ready for my production for folks that are not there. But if anybody would like to connect, I'm on the Homegrown Hillsborough network. I'm a great person, and as always, I already registered for the event. I'll reach out. I got your contact on the website. I'll follow up. Bring some elements through.
Excellent, let us know where to go first next time.
That's okay. I fucking hate interrupting people. So, but yeah, just in general, if there's anything I can do to help coordinate that or bring you consulting from my time, I've spent the last 5 years working on this. I'd be happy to do that. And if there's opportunities to help fund that, I'm super game. Yeah, I would love to collaborate in any possible way with all in the future. Y'all are awesome. Please separate that all out. There's so much to take and give it all a quick rinse, obviously. And thank you all so much. It's a pleasure. You guys have a good one.
About 35 minutes left. The rest of the agenda is kind of time permitting. So if you guys wanna maybe take another 15 minutes to continue the conversations, everyone, I would just please keep it to one conversation and not two side conversations because we're recording and if people are watching later, they're gonna be really confused. So I'll say, I'll do at maybe 1:45, we'll make it fit to wrap up here.
So I've been looking at trying to find out specifically at my school and in my area where we sell our produce, what are things that people, so it goes back to, I had a person I work with, they told me, have you tried starting with growing the things that the kids like to eat? That's great, but my goal is to introduce them to new experiences, new foods, new things. So, but trying to find out what things are people interested in, what things will sell well, and then balance that with a portion of new things. Because we ended up with like way too many zucchini and not enough tomatoes. So in this survey, is there any information about what are the desires of the community as far as what types of things they want to purchase or?
Yes, they did at the event that they did. Let me see if I can find it in this folder.
They could pick from a list of like what their favorite fruits and vegetables were.
Okay,
So
that's valuable.
There was a survey conducted to find where they put that information.
This would be kind of vague, but culturally preferred foods is kind of like something that has been really popular amongst food banks lately. So a lot of different food banks have been creating this like culturally preferred foods where it's based off of like the culture and the ethnicity of the individuals. It's general information that probably wouldn't apply specifically to like Tampa, Sulphur Springs, but it's a nice guide to see like, you know, if we know a certain demographic, a specific race or ethnicity, these are the foods that are typically preferred within that demographic. I can share it out in this Google Drive, Savannah, that we have, but a couple of food bank mates that we've been looking at lately as we're looking at like procuring from different retail stores in Tampa.
And I recently took a course on like sustainable diets, and one of the resources that they shared with me was a website called Old Ways
Yeah,
PT
that's the one.
.org. Old Ways, OldWays PT.org, and it has like PT like a Papa Tango, And yeah, it has like all these different cuisines from around the globe, like Latin heritage diets, specifically geared towards healthy, like mainstream diets. And then there's a one in there as well, African American. I was curious to see what that looked like. There's Mediterranean, African heritage diet. I haven't explored it very well, but I'd like to just to kind of see, because maybe that can help with what we're trying to do here.
They did the presentation for us. They actually teach classes on these specific diets. They're the ones that coined the Mediterranean diet that's used to help lower blood pressure, coronary artery disease. So they're huge and they're throughout the US right now.
It's interesting. I mean, going back to what I was saying before about like regional cultural diet things, like I visited Texas last summer and went to oh gosh, what's her name? Former president's daughter or wife had the she bought like
Barbara Bush.
no before that. No, in any case, but she bought this preserve and she said, I have this fear that we're getting to the point where nowhere is unique. And that's why she preserved it's the Native Flower Foundation or something in Texas. And
Oh,
200
the bird.
yeah, Lady Bird Johnson. There we go. Lady Bird Johnson. Wildflower Preserve. And sorry, my brain is in all these different places.
There.
It's about the journey, not the destination. So any case, our diet in the US is so standardized. And it's like, I just saw a friend of mine posted about wild rice in Minnesota. And I'm like, that's freaking cool. And we had neighbors from Minnesota and I'd heard about it before, but like, are there any wild rice species we can grow in Florida? It rains like monsoon in the summer. I'm sure we could grow some rice here. Just different things like that. Or cassava, like cassava is a huge staple in hot tropics type environments, but it's not part of the African diet usually in the US. It's a more Latino diet.
Sometimes they can also be easier to grow. So
Yeah,
when I first started at SLP, this was something that we were like giving food to food banks, but they were growing for metrics. So they were giving 50 pounds of turnips to a Salvation Army soup kitchen. And when I would drop them off the next week, there they were. They weren't getting used. And I was like, cool. So this is just a whole bunch of like circular money just going around and getting wasted all the time. And so I started to ask people. And then what I found was like things like popolo and collard greens and cassava. They even, not only are they what people are looking for, but they sometimes grow even easier than our like traditional American produce that we think of.
Like cassava is way easier to grow than potatoes.
So much right. So yeah. So or plantains are easy, or sweet potatoes, things like that are and that's where I think also looking back at heritage and seeing like what did people eat in Florida or whatever before refrigeration or things like that. That's kind of the route that I went and looked at and just asked people, whoever was stopping by and was like, I want food. I was like, what do you want? What would you like? And then just finding out, does that grow here? Or like there was a lot of Southeast Asian people in sort of the Tampa Bay area that were growing a lot of food that they ate all themselves. Because that's if they eat mostly what they grow, you have to grow a lot of food. So I was like, what are you guys growing? And just kind of going from there. So I think definitely that piece of like asking what do they want is really important. And I'll tell you right now, like I'm buying seeds pretty
regularly.
Well, now
now
is the time for farmers in this area to be buying our seeds. So it'd be good to know, like as soon as we can, of what we want to be purchasing before we make that purchase.
Responses, there's like a adult and a child response. It seems like tomato is a pretty big hit here. Yeah, tomato and broccoli. Yeah, and then we have like a write-in, your favorite. So the write-ins were pretty mixed.
Strawberry.
Yeah, it's like strawberries, pineapple, watermelon, a lot of fruit. Apparently there was fruit on the survey, and that was like that was it. It's like should add more vitamins and add fruit options. So that was
To touch on
Like some of those responses.
So to touch on what you were saying, I just feel like if we had more awareness on that's, if you look at that, that's very basic, you know.
Right, doesn't
Like,
sound
that's just, there's nothing there, like, how do you know that, you know, if you mix this with this, it'll turn into this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like in African American households, just like throw some neck bones in there. The salt in there.
Yeah.
Might as well skip the greens and just neck bone with some salt on it.
Yeah, the greens are important. But and I also see that in like when we sell our produce, certain things like we grow collard greens, but I really only have 1 or 2 customers that buy them. And he does buy them by the garbage bag full though. Yeah, he also brings me a plate of them. He gets a discount.
Yeah, no, see, I cook collard.
Of course I do.
I don't want to cook collard. That's crazy.
You don't know how to cook?
No, I think
It's pretty
not
much like Kenny said.
the way we wasn't broke. We wasn't. The tradition is not the same about we off track. I don't want to.
No, but it is interesting. I mean, it is interesting. You're right. It is off track, but it's also very interesting.
It's not how it used to be. That whole.
And we do have a lot of transplants, like people that are not necessarily from San
Class about, right, exactly, so.
Yeah.
So I was thinking of like enhancing.
Green cook-off.
Because they're, it says heat, yeah.
Collard greens best.
Where, yeah.
And you're judged on the taste, presentation, but also how healthy is it?
Yeah, they do.
Ooh, nutritional content.
No, but I'm saying like.
Pretty standard rubric. This is something simple.
Like, can you make it taste good without too much of?
That's kind of what I was thinking with like a kickoff festival for his market with potentially like artistry, potentially bringing in some music and then cooking demos and then producers bringing in produce. That was kind of my thought on like if there's a way that we could all work together to do this. I thought it would be kind of cool. So my thought, what I wrote down was like a kickoff festival at the market, either on October 18th or maybe like to keep the momentum going, the secondary one or something like that. But something where we would incorporate like something, if you grew up in Sulphur Springs, like something that you're like, yeah, I would like to see. So the cooking demos, instead it could be like the cook off, but having local producers somehow involved in that market, but basically getting, like you said, marketing is where you would put it. And so like this marketing would benefit, I think, everybody, right? It would highlight local producers. It would highlight the market, let people know where they can get that produce, as well as putting that money again back into that community and highlighting like people that are there. So the cook-off would do something like that, right? Like local restaurants or,
We also can do events leading up to the market. We have space where we have botanical parks. We have right on the Hillsborough River. Again, we have the recreation center. We have the full service kitchen. We have the spring theater.
Oh yeah.
So have access to anything in Silver Spring. Have all the buildings, all the land. So brainstorm. Want to put together events leading up to the market. Do it.
That would cover marketing, that would cover maybe bringing out, a musician or having some local producers with some things to say, this is a taste of what our market's gonna be like. And I think, yeah, if you guys wanna apply separately, but put each other's names on it, that could get even more fun.
That's why I wanted to discuss it before we left, because I was like,
I think.
I'm not trying to dominate, I just, yeah.
Artists,
And that's also,
You guys should collaborate.
partnerships priority, that's part of that, so you'll have points for strengthening partnerships if you're all working together in the same grant, like, I think that's totally what this is about. So, yay.
Also advocacy, so breaking down those barriers by putting it in that neighborhood. And then the food literacy aspect could either be the cooking demos or like the people that, if it is like a cook-off, maybe they provide a vague recipe for how they did it. Ingredients list, thank you. And yeah, that's why it's like a vague recipe because I know how people get. And also I don't cook with the recipes, so But yeah, like having like an ingredients list or, and especially maybe even a story. I think sometimes certain dishes do come with like a story. So like that, I think it just hits like all three of those priority areas. And that's why I wanted, and it involves all the people that showed up to the meeting today, which, yeah. So that was kind of what I was thinking. Obviously the details are sparse and we would talk more about that amongst each other or with you guys, do another working meeting. But, that's kind of, I was thinking something like that to really get the festival going. Cause I know like, or to keep momentum going on the market. I know like the kickoff days sometimes are really big. And then you're like, the next week, it's like, yeah, it takes this little downwards turn. So maybe planning something for, like the second month of it.
You've got the people there, give them a reason to come back later.
Right.
That's what I mean. Yeah. So like, so the kickoff is probably already pretty planned and you've got a lot of stuff, but maybe like a secondary thing. So making sure that they come back, not the second week that you do it, but the third or the fourth.
Just want to remind you though that the deadline to apply is August 1st, so apply before the next meeting. So
That's okay.
The application. So you guys have to do your own meeting on your own time, you know, either work on applications together, ask that means what's doing together so that you're not like repeating the same information. So yeah, just a reminder, you know, like don't wait for August to start your planning. Pretty soon.
Let's say we have, her name?
Georgia.
Georgia's, let's say she wanna hire, with the grant, she bring artists, right? What I bring is marketing or venue renovation. He may bring people, different cooking, people that do different cooking demonstration. Well, we have to break down 2,000 or we can apply separately.
You can apply separately, but
It's 4,000 total.
available.
It's 4,000
Yeah,
anyway,
so don't all apply for 2,000.
You know,
Each grantee is allowed to be worth up to $2,000.
Gotcha.
So don't, and like, it doesn't have to be 2,000. If you can do it off 1,500, great, yeah, split it that way, however you want to split it, but only apply for what you need. So in the application, it does ask you to like account for all the dollars.
Right.
So whatever your total is asking for, you would give us a budget breakdown. And then, yeah, if you look at the application, I can show you, like it asks pretty specifically, so this is blah, blah, name partner. They want your project name, the description, the organizations who are involved and what they're gonna be doing. So that's where you would all, this should be consistent for all three. It's like we're all working together to do this. And then we want everyone's names, and what they're doing. So not just like, here's everyone I've ever met. It's people who are specifically working on this project and what their job is. And then here you say food access, because you're all here at food access meeting. And then you want to explain how it advances the priorities and goals, which I think we've talked about quite a bit. How does it align with the mission, vision, values of Homegrown Hillsborough?
If you're
overarching, yeah.
If you're, go back up a little bit to the, yeah, I'll ask the first one. So as an organization, obviously there's lots of people. Would you want like me as the leader of the FFA and students or something like that? I mean, okay. Right. Well, and I mean, one of my hopes is that like I have this kid who's been coming every Tuesday and Thursday. In addition, that kid deserves to be paid for his labor, even if it's just a minimal amount. Like I'm not expecting, I'm already getting paid by the school, so I'm there. But like if a portion of that could give him like a summer internship stipend or something like that for his.
Give them, you know, come on, bucks, you
Yeah.
write it into your thing. Exactly. Just, you know, look, make sure.
I mean,
it's over 25%.
He's paying for his bus. Like they don't give student bus passes anymore, which I think is absolutely crazy.
They don't do that anymore.
No.
They give us time and they have.
Time and they pay out of his, I mean, he's
And
gotta
the
get there to his
transportation.
football practice. Like, it's crazy. That shows the dedication.
No
though.
dedication, but that has
It's
to be,
still like-
you know,
At a certain point, you realize like, hey, what am I doing all this for? And I don't get nothing. So, but this
Yeah,
is
so, you know, like, this is where you would list your budget items. And I know these all look like you can't type, and you can type as much as you want in these. Like, don't be like, oh, it's only one page. Like, I want, like, when you're talking about the priorities and goals, like that should be like almost a paragraph, like that shouldn't be one sentence, like it aligns, like it should say, why. Don't be afraid to over explain, because we'd rather have that than have to like track you down, and people aren't, you may or may not be at the next meeting, we're not gonna be able to be asking you questions about your scoring. So we wanna have a budget narrative, and this is that question, if it's over 25%, you just have to justify it. And then how will this investment sustain your organization and operations, or help sustain, so you can explain how it's helping you launch this market, and it'll create more opportunities for SLP, and it'll create opportunities for Milton. And then this question kind of like tripped a couple people up when we were first talking about it. 2 potential additional funding sources for future stages. So not this stage, but in the future, how are we planning to fund this project? So that could be like other grants, and as it's, like it says here, you can look for other grants in the Homegrown Hillsborough handbook, which is linked here. We just want you to do like a little bit of research to tell us the future, how it's like, well, I got $2,000 and now I'll never be able to do anything else because I don't know how else to get any more money. So give us 2 potential things. And then we also want to know who your target audience is and about how many people do you estimate it'll impact. And then we'll do this partner point stuff. I've got your attendance here, so you're getting your partner point for attending here. But if you go to any other events, there's lots of information about this partner points business. And that's the last question. So I don't want to over explain that part. If you have more questions, there's a lot of information about partner points on the platform. And if you've gone through all that and still have questions, then you can ask me. Like I spent a lot of time like making this document, recording the video. Yeah.
If you go to, is there a link to it on Mobilize or?
Question. Let me have the
partnership reported on.
No, well, the application.
Actually, Monica sent it out through the like.
It's in notes, but yeah.
For the application?
Yeah.
Yeah, I posted it on the one that says attention.
Oh, okay.
part. That
So
one.
it's in the text. By Lena, so I think that if you maybe I'll make
Oh,
a
main
amendment
page.
to the deadline.
No, food access.
Oh, in food access. Okay. But so since I'm not
That'd be kind of
food
fun.
access,
Oh, you don't
sometimes
have
when I
access
see the
to it?
limits- Well, maybe not. Maybe not. Hold on.
Attention community partners. Yeah, I think I did.
Oh, I see, I pinned it. It's pinned.
Attention community partners. Boom, there it is.
And then applications for mini grants can be found here.
Gotcha.
Yes.
No. Yeah, good question.
Cool. So that.
I did only put that in food access. Was that okay?
I might, I think it's also on like the meeting, I don't know. I think maybe I'll make it as like an event as the deadline to be like, by the way, this is the deadline, here's the link on the main page.
Alright.
We're trying to post so many things that like.
I mean, coming from-
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to make like 10 posts on the platform, people be like, I missed it, and it's like, okay. So yeah, that's, I'll probably do another post on that, or like a reminder, like submit your stuff. It's due, August 1st. Well, that's awesome. I did link everyone's like websites and the Milton, Instagram, interesting that.
No problem.
Are you guys feel good about this? We have about 15 minutes, so I think it's awesome.
Good.
So for old business, I just want to remind you guys, like this Healthy Neighborhood Store, this is all of the information is linked in the Google Drive for those of you who are on the drive. So it would be wise. That's where I was clicking around for that stuff that Kenny was asking for. The Bunny and Danny event. This has that like information from there. This was like the recap, and you can look at the survey responses here and for the kids here. But this was like some interesting key findings about a lot of the people were interested in learning new recipes. They were interested in community gardening. A lot of them were interested in a 20-minute cooking demo, which is why that was, I think, maybe part of the goals was that we want a demo, so that's what people want. And a lot of children have never tried corn, broccoli, cucumbers, and carrots. So that's in this.
Not true.
I know, they probably just don't know everything they eat.
That's the thing they have tried.
Yeah, so all that. And then this information is more about, like, the St. Pete information is in here. And like you said, the logo that they designed. And this Healthy Corner Store guide that's from the USDA.
Mhm.
That was something that I think it'd be wise to review, especially if that's what we're working on for our goals. So just to like kind of remind you guys what's in here, spend some time doing that. And there's a lot of like valuable information about the St. Pete one and about what they want to do for Tampa. Like there's actually like I don't, the titles aren't very helpful to me, but I think one of them is like a legit proposal that includes like all the partners who were involved, like how much, like you need to pay a coordinator to do stuff, things like that. So I would recommend checking that out. Same thing, that was the commercial guide I was talking about. And I also wanted to talk to you guys about some upcoming events on August 6th. We have two events. One is just for working group leaders, so the voting members here. And then right after it, we're gonna have a social, so that we welcome you to come to our social right after. It's gonna be the same place at Shuffle. And they're both on the platform, so this convening one is, it's on the like leader page. It's pretty big. They have shuffleboard. That's why it's called Shuffle. But it has like food, but not, like, I think it's like bar food kind of. So it is our leader meeting, which is, this is a required event. If you can't make it, you have, like, please tell us why. Otherwise, if you can't make it, you have to coordinate with your co-chairs who can have a meeting with you. As you can see, AKA all 15 voting members. So we're gonna check in, do another social, so you're not a voting member, but you're welcome after this part is complete. So at 4:30, so that's the next event. And it's also an event on the platform on the main page. So this one, you wouldn't even see this because you're not in this group. So don't worry. But everyone had kind of been saying, we want to talk with the other working groups. So we were like, all right, we will bring you all together. And we'll kind of check in, see how everyone's feeling. Like we have a couple of worksheets we're gonna go through. Bring your binders, please, so you can add documents to it. So I just wanted to like tell you all basically about this. And then afterwards, like I said, this is on the main page. This is a network-wide social. So we don't have an agenda. Everyone show up. You're welcome to bring, you know, a guest or whoever else you want to bring. Or maybe you want to invite someone to the network. Say, come out to this like event. You can meet people. We can, you know, network. That's what it is, right? Networking. And like I said, yeah, it's a shuffle and it should be fun. So yeah, please join us. And let's go back to the agenda here. Oh, it's over here on the home page.
We should be wrapping up with our evaluation.
Perfect, thank you. Rating, so we have some folks that had to leave early, so so our reminder, we're gonna go over the participation achievement, listening, scheduling, we'll just go over this. So Regina, how do you feel about participation?
Was it from 1 to 10?
1 to 5.
1 to 5, 5.
All right, great, Michelle, Arjun, here, Avery,
5.
and
Hi.
all right, and achievement, what did we accomplish, everything we set out to accomplish?
I think we accomplished a lot
Awesome. I think so too.
with these, yes. The collaboration.
Yes.
5.
Avery?
I would say 5 too.
Awesome. And listening, were people focused and mindful?
5, yes.
But 5 too.
And did we stick to our agenda and use our time wisely? What do you think? Did we use our time wisely, stick to our agenda, you say 5 and 2? Avery, Regina, anything like?
I'd say a 5 because you set timers and
Yeah.
it was
Okay, I'll give it a
finishing
5.
a few minutes.
I gotta take some.
No, give us feedback.
Give us a 5, okay?
I will see if we had either.
A little side conversation, but that's okay. They were guests, they're guests.
Right. In our next meeting, we'll be back at Feeding Tampa Bay next month, so remember that, if you're gonna be there, it's like, I'm looking at you, but like, you don't have to show.
I didn't even realize that I was like, okay.
I was like, wait, Mom, say something. But our meeting in September will be back here.
Okay.
And then after that, we things are stay for a while. So it's a little back and forth, but they're not available at the time. So August we're back there, September we're back here. Anything else before we wrap it up here?
Looks like we did it all.
Thank you guys for coming.
Ready to roll. Say your name again.